Alright, good morning guys. This is Haight's Wanderings. Today we are going to be catching some fish. We're out scouting a new section of water. I don't know if that's a fish. Oh, that's a fish.
That's one too.
You on?
Yeah. Come on.
What are we looking at? Smallie? Oh!
Watch your face.
Alright guys, how are you doing? This is Haight's Wanderings. Welcome back to another scouting mission. Today is a snow day. That's right, I'm a teacher and today is a snow day. So I thought, what better thing to do than to come downstairs and let you guys know about one of the best scouting days that I had this summer. So, this is how it went. New body of water, no people. I was out with my brother-in-law, Matt, and we smacked some fish. We had topwater blow-ups, we had some big smallmouth, we caught some really frisky pike, and we found a healthy smattering of rock bass as well. So, my thought today is I'm going to be showing you guys the footage. Now this footage is from a few months back as there is, like I said, a ton of snow outside. But this footage is from the middle of the summer. And I'm going to be here, I'm going to be talking you guys through it, kind of giving you a play-by-play and tell you how I kind of envisioned the day going and what we learned from that new spot. I'm going to tell you guys the gear we used. I'm going to tell you guys the style of river that we were on. And I hope you guys get something out of this. I am so excited for this upcoming open water season. And it's only like a couple months away. So let's get straight into it. Catch, release, wander. Let's get going. I have been scouting water in the spring and now in the summer, and I'm trying to find new places to go. Currently, we're experiencing a bit of a drought in the UP, and you have to be able to go to new places. And so today, we are out doing that. I am right here with my man Matt. Matt's wearing a beautiful hat. I like it. I want one myself. We've currently picked up 3 species today. We've picked up smallmouth, pike, and rock bass, all on the same lure. A tiny little whopper plopper, and we're gonna catch some fish today. As you can see from the drone shots right now, this is a small river system. Some YouTubers might even say this is fishing a creek. At least I've heard some clickbait titles, rivers this size being called creeks. But this is actually a river. Not a very big river, but it is a river. In some places, it's really only about a foot deep, maybe 30, 40 yards wide. Not a lot of water is flowing, but there still is a decent bit of current in some locations. We were fishing for smallmouth, or rather scouting for smallmouth, because I wasn't exactly sure what was going to be in there. I knew pike would be in there. I knew not crappie. I knew rock bass would be in there, but I didn't know about the smallmouth. So that was a little bit of a question mark going into the day. I was taking Matt out because he came up from downstate Michigan and he wanted to experience one of the fishing trips that I take people on, and he'd never caught a fish on topwater before. So it was my goal, even though I wasn't guiding him, it was my goal to show him a really good day on the water. He ended up catching topwater fish within actually a few minutes of starting the day, and it was a really, really cool experience. I think we ended up picking up 35 fish-ish, somewhere in that range. We had some really close-up, close-range encounters. We lost some fish. We had a couple of shenanigans, but it overall turned out to be, like I said, a great day. We were worried that it was going to start to rain on us, so instead of doing a full day on the water, we really only did about 6 hours. So my day typically is about an 8-hour day. So I think in a full 8 hours, we could have probably pushed it up into the 40 fish range, which would be, in my opinion, excellent as a scouting day. I ended up going back to this same stretch later in the year, and we did pick up, I think, 40 to 50 fish. We might even picked up 60 fish one day, because I had a little bit of a better understanding of it. Once I go through a stretch once, and I can kind of go back through and I hit the really target the good areas, that's how you start to learn a body of water. So we'll start with the gear this morning of what we were fishing with. I thought the fish were going to be smaller, so I actually did something that I almost never do. You guys have not seen this on this channel yet, but I actually brought an ultralight. This right here, if I can get it up without breaking anything, you probably can't see it very well, but this is a 6-foot ultralight rod. This is an HMX by Fenwick. Let's see what it says. It's a light moderate is what it calls it. Light moderate, but you know, in my opinion, that's ultralight. And then there is a Fluger Presidential XT reel on here that's a 2500 series. So this was our main rod that we were throwing with early on. Once we realized the fish were bigger than we were expecting, we switched over to some of the more normal gear, which is this right here. This is a 6'6", oh shoot, I can't even read it. It's medium, so it's 6'6" medium action with a, again, Fluger Presidential XT reel, and this size is 3,500. On both of those rods, I was running 20 or 40 pound fluorocarbon as my leader, and I might have that right here for you guys to look at. Let's see. Here we go. So I'm going to show you guys this this leader I was using. I was using that in the 20, I think the 30 and the 40-pound size to avoid the pike bite-offs. And I don't think we lost any gear that day to bite-offs, which is great. We did lose gear to trees, but that's a story for later in the video. So I'm going to show you guys the baits that we were doing well on today. I have my second camera right here that I'm going to kind of be showing, hopefully more of a close-up view. So we started the day again with the ultralight, and we were thinking that we would find something on these very small little whopper ploppers. This is a whopper plopper size 60. I like it. It's really small. The fish bite it. The only problem with this right here, though, is that the hooks are so small, they're really hard to get out of a pike's mouth. Another lure that we ended up using is this Razzle Dazzle size 4 Mepps Agula. I call it the Razzle Dazzle just because it's all pink. It did all right for us. Another lure is this bad boy right here. Now, I know this looks like a whopper plopper. It's not. This is a Chinese knockoff Amazon special. I think maybe we picked up, I don't know, like 10 of these for $5 or something. I don't usually use this, but Matt was scared to lose whopper ploppers to trees, so I pulled this out just so he wouldn't be worried about losing something. Now, after that, we started picking up fish on the Nico Helgramite. Nico Helgramite is a super cool lure. I have a video dedicated to that. If you guys haven't seen it yet, go check it out. Additionally, I was using this right here. This is a really cool Elastec style Z-Man Minnow Z, I think is what it's called. Minnow Z with a bullets jig head. Notice on this jig head that the hook point is completely weedless right there. Not until the fish pushes down is it going to, you know, sting you. So really love throwing that. And last but not least, we have this right here. These are the Yamamoto Wacky Worm style Senko baits. We were tossing these back as toss-back lures, and the rock bass were going absolutely ham for the Senko style baits. Alright, so that was the gear that we used throughout the day. I think we might have fished all day long and never switched out of those 5 baits. It was a good day. We actually moved 4 species of fish. We had walleye that we moved and had bites but didn't actually get on the boat, pike, and then the smallmouth, and then the rockies. I know a lot of people don't like catching rock bass, but the truth is they bite hard. They fight for like about 2 seconds. And they're kind of fun to catch just as like a fish to, you know, let's say you might catch a bass every 10 minutes. Well, it's kind of fun to catch a rock bass, you know, in the middle of that lull. So you catch 2 rock bass, catch a smallmouth, catch 2 rock bass, catch a smallmouth. At least for me, I like that variety. I know some people hate catching rock bass, but I kind of like it. They're fun. This system is, it wasn't entirely new to me. I have been on other sections of this river in different places, but I had never gone through this specific one.
Dude, this is a much nicer fish, bro. All right. So, I apologize that you did not catch this fish.
It's alright.
So you want to net that thing for me? Grab that net, because I gotta reel this in. She's, come on, baby. This is on my ultralight, so it's like,
Look at that bend.
this is a big fish too. You ready? There we go, there we go. Nice, dude, nice.
I had seen it, you know, a variety of times on Google Satellite or Google Map View, and I always thought to myself, that looks fun. I think it might be fishy. But a few years back, I actually went to the put-in spot, and I went out and I started casting, and I was discouraged because the entire river at the put-in spot is like 3 inches deep. And I thought to myself, oh, this would be miserable. I couldn't even get my kayak through here. Like I said, that was a couple years ago. I ended up looking at Google Maps, and I realized that the put-in spot is the only spot that's super, super shallow. After that, all of the water has at least a foot of depth. And so I thought, you know what, I'm going to give this a go. And I'm really glad that I did. Wasn't expecting 35 fish, but I was pleasantly surprised. This section is wild, yet it's not as remote as a lot of my trips. We actually did go by a few houses, a few cabins, and unfortunately you could hear some road traffic noise from where we were at. But on the actual river, 85 to 90% of the day was complete wilderness. There was just a couple of sections that we went by a couple of houses. So I would say that that's a pretty good day on the water. A really nice stretch and something that is easily accessible. I'm always looking for places that I can take people that have mobility issues, and maybe they can't stand very well, or they can't go down steep banks. And so I'm always looking for places that are accessible to get into the raft and the water. And this location was perfect for people that maybe wouldn't do as well in other areas that I go to, where we have to do portages around, you know, crazy rapids and stuff like that. This spot, chill, very chill. It might actually be the first trip that I take my daughter on. It's that relaxing, and there are no hazards really of any kind. And I think that this would be a really good place to take kids and, you know, adults that want to catch nice fish. In my head, before I go scouting, I'm always thinking about the distance. I'm thinking about landmarks when I'm on the river, so I can know where I'm at in relation to the ending spot. So it's my goal to pace myself so that I don't spend 4 hours in one hole and then have to bust butt for, you know, the rest of the day to get to where we need to go. I always want to make sure that I have ample amount of time to get to the takeout and not, you know, drain ourselves in one spot fishing the entire day. If you guys have ever fished on a river before, you know that there are holes that you go over that you say to yourself, if I fished there for the next hour, I'd pull out a big fish. The problem is, though, you can't always fish them. Sometimes you just have to kind of keep going, keep moving until maybe you get a bite or something, and then you can say, all right, let's wait here for a couple minutes, see if we can't get another fish. This was one of those days. There was a ton of good-looking water, but we didn't have enough time. I was actually fishing, because it wasn't a guided trip or something, I was fishing with Matt just so we could kind of double up. He was casting topwater. As soon as he'd get a bite and he'd miss the fish, I would cast back with a toss-back lure, and that really worked out well. I highly encourage all of you bass anglers to have a toss-back rod rigged up at all times. The toss-back rod is so effective at getting fish in the boat. If you have a swirl, you have a missed bite, you have a fish that moves on a bait but then leaves it alone, you have that toss-back rod that you can immediately pick up, sling to the spot, let it fall. Usually that fish will come over, it'll pick it up, set the hook, and you have your fish.
Fish, first cast. Beautiful cast. Let's get that moving. Come on, baby. Here she comes. Well, I'll be diggity dog surprised. All right, back in there. I'm gonna want you to get that a little bit farther in there.
See what I can do.
Ooh, I think that might be a perfect cast. Oh, come on. You know there's a fish in there. Come on.
Toss a worm.
I'm tossing my worm in there.
All right.
That's all I need to see. Is a fish come up and do that. Tossing the toss back lure. And we're on. That's how she's done.
I actually think I'm going to do a full-blown video talking about the tossback method and how that works. So be looking for that in an upcoming video. I think it's a technique that is underappreciated by the average bass angler, but that could absolutely raise your catch rates and really increase your fun on the water. One of the best parts of the day is when things happen that shouldn't happen, but they're kind of like the once-in-a-trip moments. And one of those happened fairly early in the day. Matt was in the front, and he was casting the 60 size whopper plopper. And he cast it well over a tree limb. We pulled on it, and it broke off because we were using maybe 15-pound braid. And so I said to myself, there's no way we're going to get back this lure, but we might as well try at least once or twice. This limb was hanging out over the water, I don't know, like 10, 15 feet above our heads. So we got the net, and Matt walked over and he threw the net into the air, hoping that the net meshing would grab the hooks and it would pull it down. Now, you're probably thinking to yourself, that's a great way to break your net, lose your net, I don't know, poke your eye out. But it actually worked on the very first try.
Dude, it worked. It worked. Are you serious? It worked. Oh my gosh. You should be one of those Olympic javelin throwers. Nice.
As you can see right here, it worked, and we were so surprised. I didn't think it was going to work, but I'm happily surprised that it did work. Unfortunately, we lost that whopper plopper later in the day to a different tree, but it was kind of cool because it just silly stuff like that shouldn't work, and when it does, it's just kind of special. Fishing in this river was a little interesting because we were fishing in the middle of the day mostly. We didn't get a particularly early start, and there was lightning rain coming in the afternoon, so we didn't have a particularly long afternoon either. I think we fished from 10 o'clock to 4 o'clock, which really is not the best time of the day to be fishing. But we did end up, like I said, just catching some really, really fun fish. I think one of the reasons we did well is because it doesn't appear that it gets fished very often. This stretch of water was, there was no trash. There were a couple of houses, but it was beautiful. There was no fishing line or bobbers or anything like that I saw.
Oh, she's on too.
And I didn't have the camera going for that. That was a crazy topwater bite. Open your bail.
Now, that being said, there was one section that I was kind of disappointed in. We were going down the river, and I looked in the water, and I saw all of these shining things. You know, for hundreds of yards, there were shiny things in the water, and I thought to myself, maybe they're like freshwater clams or something like that. Finally, I got out, and I grabbed one of them, and I realized they were little, like, metallic colored stars, like foil stars that come out of the 4th of July celebrations. So somebody had a 4th of July celebration and dumped all of their, I'm like thousands of metallic stars, and they were fairly large too. And so that was a really a bummer for me going through there. And I actually went back a month later. Stars were still there. So I assume next year when I go through again, because I'm absolutely going back, I assume those stars are still going to be there. And they're probably just going to slowly move on downriver. So probably over the next 10, 15 years, I will still be seeing those stars. And so I guess this is just a kind of a public service announcement of pick up your stuff. Don't let it get, taken by the wind, and absolutely don't dump it out in nature. That stuff doesn't biodegrade. It just stays out there forever. And it's unfortunate because it ruins that sense of, wilderness, and it's also terrible for the environment. So I will get off my soapbox, but that was one negative part of the day.
It's a bit more risky than I usually am. Oh, that's a nice fish. Look at that, dude. She came right. Oh, dude. Dude, did you see that? She came right out. I'm gonna need the net for this one. Oh, sorry, dude. Ready? I'm bringing her up, Oh, 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 oh. Is the bass we're going for, guys, right here. Look at the size of that girthy girl. Beautiful fish, man. Sweet, and she came out right in front of us. This fish bit like, what, a couple feet from the boat? Yeah. Thank you for biting, baby. So, right back here, and I wasn't really expecting a nice smallmouth. I was thinking maybe a little rock bass. I wasn't really expecting anything because we were about 6 feet away from it in the raft. And tossed my wacky worm in there, 4-inch cream color, and it came up and it hit it immediately. Good fight. She gave me a good fight. We got it in the boat, got a quick little video as you guys saw, and let her go on her way. We're having a ton of fun. Scouting today is working out really well. Not all of my scouting trips turn out so well. Sometimes we end up catching no fish at all, but today we got the fishing juju going on. Right, watch this. I'm gonna put this in this foam. Mm-hmm.
As an overall grade for this body of water, I'm going to grade it on a couple of different aspects. I'm going to grade it, and I'm going to write these down right now so I can kind of remember. We're going to grade it on accessibility. We're going to grade it on fish numbers, fish size, number of species that can be caught, remoteness. We'll grade it on human footprint. So let's go over these again. We got access, fish numbers, fish size, species numbers, remoteness, human footprint. And you know what? Let's do a beauty. That'll be our last thing that we're going to rate it on. So for accessibility, we're going to go on a 0 to 10 scale. 0 is absolutely impossible. That'd be like, I don't know, Mount Everest. 10 would be accessible for literally anyone, 100-year-old person that is blind and cannot move on their own. That would be a 10 out of, that'd be the easiest. So I'm going to rate for accessibility, this section is an 8 out of 10. As long as somebody can move down a 5-foot bank and then at a fairly, maybe like a 45-degree angle, 5-foot bank, you could get into this stretch. Very, very accessible. So 8 out of 10. Fish numbers. I'm going to give this section a 7 out of 10 for fish numbers. A lot of fish. So that's good. For fish size, we're going to probably say this is about a 5 out of 10 on fish size. You know, it wasn't bad and it wasn't good. I'd say it's about average in the fish department. We did catch a couple of smallmouth that were really, really nice, but I don't think this section even has the potential for a 20-inch smallmouth. I think those fish are probably going to be topping out at about 18 inches. So I'm going to say about a 5 on fish size. For species numbers, we didn't see any muskie, but we did see 4 species of fish. So I'd say I'm going to give it a, let's say a 6 out of 10 for species numbers. For the remote characteristics of this trip, you can hear road noise, you can hear people mowing. So I'm going to say a 4 out of 10. So that's the lowest so far. For the human footprint is a 0 would be it's in the middle of a city, and a 10 is it's, you know, in the middle of the Canadian wilderness. I would say that for the human footprint, it's probably a 5 out of 10. Actually, you know, I take that back. Let's do a 6 out of 10. There are a couple of houses here and there, but they're really kind of sporadically placed, so that's not too bad. For beauty, this section was really, really beautiful. I would give it a 6.5 out of 10. Just pretty. The rocks, the water, the flowing grasses. There weren't a whole lot of places that kind of just looked dull and drab. It was a beautiful stretch of water. So I'm saying a 7 out of 10 there. This scouting trip turned out to be an absolute banger, and I'm so glad that I went there. I'm so glad that Matt came with me, and I'm so glad that all of you stuck with it and watched this video, and now we're getting down to the end. 2 things before we go. Number 1, if you enjoyed this, please consider leaving a like. That really helps me as a small-time content creator. And secondly, please think about subscribing. That also helps me. I think I'm at about 3,500 subscribers, and it's my personal goal. It's my goal to hit 10,000 subscribers. I know that's small time, little minnow compared to some of those big time fishing channels, but for me, as this is my part-time side gig, I think that would be a really cool goal. Alright guys, thank you so very much for watching. I hope you got something out of this. As always, catch, release, wander. I'll see you guys in the next one.